So we are back with yet another breakdown video, and yet again it's on Charlie Kirk. I think I did one video on Charlie Kirk and I forgot what I talked about. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot what the topic of discussion is, but it's Charlie Kirk. Anyone who knows about Charlie Kirk knows that this man is a staunch white supremacist. He is very anti-black. And this video that you're about to hear is going to show even more how anti-black he is, but I think he's quaking a little bit. But I'm not going to explain to you what you're about to hear. I'm going to play it through like I do in all my breakdowns, and then we're going to go back and break down as many points from this as possible.
New story out today shows that the U.S. Census Bureau, or the agency under the Secretary of Commerce, is debating whether or not to add a question to blacks of, are you a descendant of slaves? This is a precursor to reparations. And I am not a pessimist, but I want to be very clear that the pace that we're moving right now, you are going to live in a country where there is reparations. You're going to live in a country where white people are going to be forced to give money to black people for something you did not do, for something you are not connected to, just because you look like somebody who did something bad. So I have some very simple questions for the reparation crowd. Do white people get money because our ancestors, 600,000 of them, died in the Civil War so that blacks could be free? Do we get reparations for that? Number two, what if a child is half black or half white, or a person is half white or half black? Do they pay reparations to themselves? What about new blacks into the country? Nigerians, Haitians, people from Western Africa that have immigrated in that last 20 or 30 years. They have to pay reparations to other blacks that claim to be oppressed because their ancestors were slaves? How does one prove that they're descendants of slaves? So let me get this straight. It is evil and racist to ask a black to go show ID when you vote, but somehow you're going to be able to have a black show all of the paperwork that they're the descendant of slaves.
Okay, so y'all heard it right there, and I know y'all are probably fuming in this comment section right now in this chat, but we're gonna break it down because, again, this is very easy to debunk. And I'm gonna just say this again, when I said he was quaking, he is. Like, listen to how he's talking. He is trying to fight through that anger. That's why he keeps chuckling and smiling. He's really upset because of the possibility of this happening, but not in the way that he thinks, which is why we're gonna go back and break this down.
New story out today shows that the U.S. Census Bureau, or the agency under the Secretary of Commerce, is debating whether or not to add a question to blacks of, are you a descendant of slaves?
In case many people don't know exactly what he's talking about, I actually did come across this, I think, last week, and I'm recording this on April 4th, 2023, where they are actually going to start putting that on the census somewhere in some capacity right there. So that's something new that they're about to most likely start to do. Y'all can go and look that up for yourselves and you'll get more information about it.
This is a precursor to reparations. And I am not a pessimist, but I want to be very clear that the pace that we're moving right now.
Listen to his tone when he starts to chuckle a little bit. That's a little bit of nervousness coming out of Charlie. He's trying to throw you off as the listener and as the viewer that he's not worried about this, but he is. And many people of his ilk are worried about it as well. That's why he's sending this dog whistle out there when he gets to the point where I have a couple of questions. And I'm telling you, that part is very easy to break down.
You are going to live in a country where there is reparations.
Well, if they would have paid what they owed back then, we wouldn't be having this discussion. And the thing is, we already live in an establishment where reparations are being paid to every other group that are owed it for whatever atrocities they've dealt with. See, this is the thing I'm talking about. Black people, listen to me and listen to me closely. Do not think for 1 second that people like Charlie Kirk are dumb on what they talk about. They are very smart. They are very strategic. We may not like what they say, but they are not dumb. He knows that reparations has been paid out, or restitution, however you want to put it, to different groups. And I'm sure he falls into a group that where reparations has been paid. He's probably benefited. But when it comes to black people, they want to act dumb about the topic of reparations because they don't want us to have it. That's really all it boils down to.
You're going to live in a country where white people are going to be forced to give money to black people.
No, this is from the government. This is not coming from white people, Charlie. This may not even affect your pockets. And that's the other thing. They keep putting this out there. And again, this is the part of the video where he's dog whistling to his audience of white people. Black people are going to come after you and steal your money. They're going to come and garnish your checks and take taxes away from you when they're going to go to them. Are you going to stand for this? That's literally what he probably wanted to say. That's literally what he's saying right here without him saying it. But the breakdown videos, the point of that is to fill in the gaps of what is going on so the person can get it in the most simplest way. That's what Charlie is saying right here. Again, this is coming from the U.S. government. But we all know when they say U.S. government, they talking about white people because that's who makes up the majority of the U.S. government.
For something you did not do, for something you are not connected to.
Aren't connected to. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? So Charlie Kirk, if you're telling me if we did a ancestry on you, we wouldn't find at least one of your ancestors owned slaves or owned a plantation. I highly doubt it. Unless you're prepared to tell us that your ancestry came from migrants. And they came over in the 1900s post-chattel slavery. Because if you about to say that you're an all-American person, then 9 times out of 10, your ancestors owned some people.
Just because you look like somebody who did something bad. So I have some very simple questions for the reparation crowd.
When he says reparation crowd, he's talking to us. I just want y'all to know he's talking to us. Now he's asking us questions. And the thing is, I could bring everything that I'm about to break down to his face right now, but what's the point? It will be like talking to a brick wall with steel lining behind it.
Do white people get money because our ancestors, 600,000 of them, died in the Civil War so that blacks could be free? Do we get reparations for that?
No, you don't. See, this is the part where he's trying to act dumb and he's being condescending. He's being condescending right here. He already knows the answers to these questions are no, but he's asking it to try to make us look like we're dumb, to try to trip us up, as if we don't know history. That's another thing. People like Charlie Kirk think that they are the smartest person in the room, especially when it comes to black people, because they always like to throw this IQ thing around that they're so intelligent, they're so smart. The light bulb always clicks for them at the right time and ours just fizzes and dims out. It's dead.
That. Number 2.
And first off, it doesn't even deal with the Civil War. They know what it comes from and what it stems from. That is from American antebellum chattel slavery, enslavement. I'm sorry, I keep pausing it. This is why I'm doing my Black Massacre series right now on my channel. That is, you see what Charlie is saying right here? This is exactly why, because a lot of people don't know their history. Well, I'm here to help bring that to you. And it's also a reason why on YouTube, those views for those videos don't get the views like they should, opposed to when it first started. If you look at the first Black Massacre series video that I did, I think that video right now is sitting at like over 5,600 views. My most recent one, well, I'm recording this on Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. So it's not Wednesday yet. So I don't know what the most recent one is going to look like. But ever since then, the views have fluctuated. In between 2 and 1,000. A lot of them fell into the 1,000 range. Some of them didn't even crack 1,000. But the one I know that I did on 1898, which was Wilmington, that one did pretty well. And I think maybe it's because that was a very lengthy one. But you know, it is what it is. But don't let Charlie Kirk sit up here and try to throw you off, or anyone like him for that matter. They know exactly what they're doing.
Two, what if a child is half black or half white, or a person is half white or half black? Do they pay reparations to themselves?
No, that's not. If they're half black, half white, if their parent is FBA, Foundational Black American, then they're going to get reparations. Well, their parent will get it. And of course, their parent is going to spread, the child's going to benefit on the parent side. Now, if that child's parent is non-FBA, then they get nothing. Again, Charlie Kirk knows the answers to these questions. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's being disingenuous and he's trying to throw black people off. But he's not as bright as he thinks he is. The only thing bright in that studio is his shirt and them lights.
What about new blacks into the country? Nigerians, Haitians, people from Western Africa that have immigrated in that last 20 or 30 years. They have to pay reparations to other blacks that claim to be oppressed?
No, what? No. Why would they pay us? Again, it comes from the U.S. government. Notice he didn't mention that. When y'all heard it the first time, he never brought up the U.S. government, who the money actually is coming from. He mentioned all these other things, all these other entities that it wouldn't come from. But he didn't mention the one entity that it does come from. I want y'all to really pay attention to that. And he knows, like I said, he knows what he's doing. He's very strategic.
Because their ancestors were slaves? How does one prove that they're descendants of slaves?
It's very simple. Like, they think that we can't trace our ancestry back, but see, his ancestors made sure that they destroyed those records, so we couldn't trace our stuff back. That's why you have so many people right now trying to say we don't know our history. And it's not our choice that we don't know our history. It's because our history got destroyed and we had to do the footwork to try to reclaim and build it back up. And see, they are banking that we don't find out our history. Too late. A lot of people have been digging. See, this reparations thing is deeper than reparations. It's actually forcing black people to go and research their family tree and their history, which is something we should have been doing. But if the talk of reparations is what it will take, hey, I'm all for it. At least we're doing it for a reason. I remember I had posted up a picture of my great grandmother on my Instagram? I think it was my Instagram, and I think on Twitter, when she was a slave back in the 1800s. And you could tell by the quality of the picture and the attire she had on that she was definitely on a plantation. And then I came across a picture of my great grandfather, dressed really nice, by the way. And you could tell by the quality of the picture and where it was taken at, where he was at. You know, a lot of times when you look at those pictures from back in the day, it has like that beige looking tint to it. You can actually recreate those kind of filters today. It's crazy how that happens. Back then they had no choice, because that's just how pictures were developed. That's just how they looked. But nowadays you can throw those kind of filters on there to make images look just like that. It's crazy how technology has become so advanced. But I've dug through my family tree. As far, it's still some digging that needs to be done. But as far as I know, from what I've looked up so far, I'm FBA on both sides. My mother was born in South Carolina and my dad was born in Virginia. And we all know that Virginia was the first place where they imported slaves to. It was where the first ship docked. Jamestown, Virginia. But see, people like Charlie think that we can't do that. It's almost like he's trying to challenge us or trying to insult our intelligence, which is exactly what he's doing right here. And y'all all know my biggest pet peeve is insulting my intelligence.
So let me get this straight. It is evil and racist to ask a black to go show.
Now listen to how he says black. To ask a black. The blacks. You know how I've always I've always despised how PC people say that word. The blacks. The black. The blacks. I hate that. Let me run it back a little bit.
To go show ID when you vote. But somehow you're going to be able to have a black show all of the paperwork that they're the descendant of slaves.
Now listen to how he said that. He's taking it as a joke. Like, basically saying, do you think that the black, as he says it, do you think that the black will actually be able to find all of their paperwork? Do they actually think that's going to happen? Are they serious? They're just wasting their time. Charlie Kirk, you must not know the determination of black people. If we want to get something done, we're going to find a way to get it done. Unlike a privileged silver spoon such as yourself, who's never had to work a day for their daily bread, as Professor Black Truth says, because everything for the most part has been handed to you. So it's very easy for someone to hitch their wagon and sit on their platinum painted horse and say the things that they say. It's very easy for Charlie to sit up there and talk the ish that he's talking right now. But he who laughs last laughs the loudest and the best. And I can't wait until the day comes when we wipe the smirk off of Charlie Kirk's face, because he thinks we're joking. He thinks it's a waste of time. Well, black people, foundational black Americans, that is, we got some work to do. I'm up for the challenge. Remember, I had posted up a shorts video a couple weeks back where it showed a group of black people down in Georgia who had brought this land area and built tiny houses there that they're literally called tiny houses, but they're really nice interior wise. And you had that Peter Stu, or Stu Peters, quote tweet that and said, "Is segregation coming back?" These are the same group of people that tell us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, do this and do that. And then when we do, but not to their benefit, but because we want to, they post stuff like that. Or you have Charlie Kirk talking like this. They are scared. Let me tell you something. Y'all just listen to 1 minute and 50 seconds worth of fear from Charlie Kirk. The fact that he's even asking those questions at the end lets you know that he's scared. He knows that he thinks we're dumb, but we're not. He probably knows that we're not. It's almost like a discouraging thing to tell black people, like, wow, you know what? I didn't think of it like that. It's going to be very hard. Let me just give up. Don't give up. That's what he wants you to do. Again, Charlie Kirk, we not getting nothing out of you, because as far as I'm concerned, with the amount of reparations that we're owed, you couldn't afford it. Let's just be 100% honest with ourselves here. Charlie Kirk could not even afford to pay us in dust, let alone trillions of dollars of debt owed. Even a fraction of that he could not afford.